What's up everyone, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing and doing a quick hands-on review of the Coolpad Cool 6. So here's the box. After a long time, Coolpad is back with another great phone. This phone is available online exclusively on Amazon.in. It's available in two variants. Base variant starts at 11,000 rupees for 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 13,000 rupees for 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. It's available in two colors, blue and silver. We have the 6GB variant in the silver color. Now the main highlights for this phone would be its 21 megapixel pop-up selfie camera, 48 megapixel rear camera, Helio P70 processor, and a large 4000 mAh battery. Well, it's been a really long time seeing a phone with a pop-up camera, and it's great to see it back. Some people like it, some people don't. I personally like it because it gives you a display without any obstructions. Anyway, now let's have an unboxing. This is the entire box packaging. On the front, it simply says Cool and Coolpad at the bottom. On the left side, it says Cool for Life, and on the right side, the same thing. At the top, it's completely plain. At the bottom, the same thing. On the back side, we have all the specifications, IMEI numbers, and so on. Now let's open it up. So guys, once we open the box, first we have the phone itself. Let me just put that aside. Next we have a soft silicone pouch, a free screen guard, some documentation, a 10 watts power adapter, followed by a Type-C to audio jack adapter. So there's no audio jack on this phone, a SIM card ejector, and finally a USB Type-C charging cable. So these are all the contents of the box. Now let's come back to the phone. Let me remove these stickers as well. So guys, this is how the phone looks on the back, and this is how the phone looks on the front. Now let's have a physical overview. On the back, this phone has a plastic back panel with a super smooth mirror-like finish with tapered edges on the sides, and it's exactly like a mirror finish. This is a silver color, and the blue one actually looks much better. On the top left corner, we have the camera module along with a single LED flash, followed by a fingerprint scanner, and at the bottom it says Cool, designed by Coolpad. On the front, we have a huge display without any kind of notch or any kind of punch hole design, and it's protected by a 2.5D curved glass. Above the display, we have the regular earpiece, and below the display it's completely plain, and the chin is kinda small. It's okay for the price. Now for the sides, on the right side we have the power and volume buttons made of plastic. They have a nice clicky feel to them. I wish they were slightly more elevated. At the top we have the pop-up selfie camera mechanism along with some sensors. On the left side we have the SIM card tray housing a nano SIM slot along with a hybrid SD card slot. So you can either use two nano SIMs or a nano SIM and an SD card, not all three at once. And finally at the bottom, we have the speaker grills, one for the speaker and another one for the microphone. And at the center, we have the USB Type-C charging port. Now this phone has a thickness of 9.2 mm and weighs almost 198 grams. Initial impressions, phone is slightly on the thicker side and also has a bit of weight to it. But it doesn't feel all that heavy. By the way, this phone also has a free screen guard pre-applied, which is something that you should remove because the surface itself is pretty rough, not at all usable. So remove this, and if you really want a screen guard, there's one inside the box. Now let's try out the free case that we got inside the box. Now this is how the phone looks with the case on. There is a slightly raised lid for the camera module, so it does offer some protection, but that's barely minimum. And there's also a tiny bit of raised lid for the display, which is almost negligible. Overall, this case can give you some extra grip, prevent smudges, that's all. Not too much in terms of protection, but it can last you for the first few days. Get a better case if you're worried about scratching your phone. Now these are the complete specifications of this phone. On the rear, this phone has a triple camera setup with a 48 megapixel primary camera, a 2 megapixel camera for taking portrait shots, and another 2 megapixel camera for taking macro shots. For selfies, it has a 21 megapixel camera inside that pop-up mechanism with f2.0 aperture. On the front, we have a huge 6.53-inch ultra full view display with Full HD Plus resolution and 93% screen to body ratio. As for performance, it sports a MediaTek Helio P70 processor with Mali G72 GPU with up to 6GB of RAM and up to 128GB of storage. SD card supports up to 256GB of storage. Now finally, in the battery department, this phone sports a 4000 mAh battery and comes with a regular 10 watts power adapter inside the box. So those were the specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. So this is how the phone looks once we turn it on and set it up. This is our default launcher and there's no app drawer, so all the applications are thrown onto the home screen and there's absolutely no bloatware. It's pretty clean. Now let's go to the about page. So this phone is running Android version 10 with the September security patch, which is pretty good. And as for the storage, out of that 128 gigabytes of space, we get about 117 gigabytes of space free for our user apps and user data. By the way, if you are planning to get this phone, get the 6 gigabytes variant as it's a better value for money. And as for RAM, out of that 6 gigabytes of RAM, we get about 3.97 gigabytes of RAM free right out of the box. Now let's check out the camera interface. So this is how the rear camera interface looks like. Right now we are using the primary 48 megapixel camera. Rest of the two cameras are just for taking portrait shots and for macro shots. And I really wish this phone came with a wide angle camera. Now for portrait mode, we have a toggler here. Just enable it to take a portrait shot. On the left side, we have the regular video recording mode. We can record video in 1080p resolution. Following that is HDR mode, and finally a dedicated night mode. On the right side, we have UHD. So even though this phone has a 48 megapixel camera, it uses pixel binning to take 12 megapixel pictures by default. So if you want to take a 48 megapixel picture, you can use UHD. Next we have Pro mode, and finally these are all the extra modes that are available. Now this is the interface for the front camera. I really hope you can hear it. Every time the front camera opens and closes, you can hear the mechanical sound. And you also get a cool animation for the camera. Initial impressions, front camera looks pretty decent. Now once again, for taking portrait selfies, we have a toggler here. And on the left side, we have video recording mode. Once again, we can record video in 1080p resolution. And that's pretty much it. Rest of the modes are for the rear camera. But if you go to the more section and switch the cameras, these are the dedicated modes available for the front camera. We have GIF, filters and beauty mode. Camera interface looks pretty outdated. I wish it could be improved with a future update. Now these are some sample shots. By the way, this phone also has accidental protection for the pop-up camera. So whenever you accidentally drop it, camera automatically closes to protect it, which is a pretty good feature. Now let's test the fingerprint scanner. I've already set it up and here we go. Fingerprint scanner is fast, but you just need a little bit of getting used to find it easily. By the way, there is no face unlock feature on this phone, probably because of that pop-up mechanism. The entire process will be pretty slow, so Coolpad completely removed that feature. Now let's test the speaker loudness. Here's a quick audio sample. Speaker on this phone is not too loud, but it is sufficient for regular ringtones, alarms, and media consumption. By the way, this phone has the speaker under the right grill and the microphone under the left grill. Now, as this phone is running Android 10, we also got the new navigation gestures, and you can access it from navigation bar settings. Just enable the gestures. Now you can swipe from the bottom of the screen to go home, swipe and hold for recent applications, and you can swipe from the left side or right side to go back a step. And you can swipe from the bottom left corner or bottom right corner to trigger Google Assistant. Now, before I conclude, these are the benchmark scores. So guys, this is the new Coolpad Cool 6. What do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.